This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
It's been a hot day in the northern Serengeti, and this lioness has chosen the most idyllic spot in amongst the rocks. This is Wild Wonderland.
This is absolutely magnificent.
This is happening, folks. This is 100% live.
Here we are. We're watching the migration story unfold. Here's a lion. There's a lion right next to us.
Oh, that was close.
You can't possibly script something like this.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome once again to the Mara Triangle in Kenya, where we are perched on the banks of the Mara River. My name is Steve Falconbridge, joined by James on camera, and what a wonderful afternoon it is. As always, we're coming to you live from 3 locations here in the Mara Triangle in Kenya, as well as the Serengeti in Tanzania, as well as the Sabi Sands in South Africa. And as always, you can communicate with us using the hashtag CGTNWild, as well as hashtag Wild Wonderland. We would love to hear from you this afternoon. As I said before, we are perched on the banks of the Mara River, the lifeblood of this ecosystem. We have got some giraffe, some impala, some elephants, of course. As you saw before, some hippopotamuses in the background calling. Welcoming you, good day. And this is a crossing called Main Crossing on the Mara River, and we're a little bit further north from where the herds are currently, but this is a place where in probably the next few weeks or so there will be lots of animals crossing. The banks are quite narrow, or should I say quite shallow, and it's quite an easy vantage point for them to get across, but there are some gigantic crocodiles that hang down here. Just last year, James and myself had 36 crocodiles here, catching wildebeest and zebra as they tried to cross. And as we said, the migration is amongst us. We're a little bit further north from it, but if you are behind and you haven't caught up on the migration yet, let's go and learn a little bit more about it.
The red oatgrass plains of the Mara Serengeti sway in anticipation. In February, around 400,000 wildebeest are born on the short grass of the Serengeti's southern plains. Just half an hour, the calves have found their feet. And one of nature's greatest journeys begins. From the southern plains, more than 1 million animals move northwest into the Serengeti's western corridor, massing on the banks of the Grumeti River. As the rut ends, the herds gallop north once more. Eventually, 2 million grazers arrive to feast on the abundance of the Massai Mara. It begins with the trickle of the zebra vanguard, enjoying the undisturbed long grass plains, making the first crossings of the turbulent Mara River. Many fall to the rapids and the crocodiles. And then comes the main body of the migration, the thundering herds of white-bearded gnu, bleating songs of chaos in search of green pasture. The herds know the danger, but the call for food is too great. All must take the plunge. Not all will make it. For those that do, hungry prides and clans patrol the banks. For survivors, rich red oatgrass is the reward. Before it's time to cross the river again, as nature's greatest herd follows the life-giving storms and verdant plains of the Mara Serengeti for nourishment.
Welcome back live, and we're sitting with the Salt Lick Pride. We've got the 3 cubs, and they are going to look at what they will one day hunt when they're very big and strong. Look at them, adopting their little hunting pose already, despite the fact that it's probably a year or 2 before they're able to take on the migration themselves. Beautiful stuff. My name is James Hendry. We have got Jean-Dre on camera. He's not showing you his hands at the moment because he has to film, and that's a very important function that he fulfills. Please do talk to us. Remember to ask us as many questions as you'd like to. It'd be wonderful to hear from you as we enjoy the bounty of the migration and the joy of the predators that will take advantage of it over the coming months. Alrighty, we're going to stay with these beautiful cats as they survey the migration. Let's go back up north to Steve, whose elephant is apparently about to go down a hill.
Thanks, James. Yes, the lions are spoiled for choice when it comes to food, and this elephant is giving himself a little bottom rub against the bank of the river here. A small family group of elephants coming down to drink. This one's trying to scratch those hard-to-reach places. And most animals need to drink regularly. Elephants will drink fresh water, and they are very, very, very fond of fresh water. Sometimes even digging in stream beds where the sand has got water below the surface. You'll see that one in the background actually will push the water around to try and get a nice little taste. But when the water's flowing like this, it's generally pretty good. If it's in a stagnant stream, they'll actually push the water around to get that sort of organic material layer on the top away, and then they'll drink the fresh stuff underneath, sucking the water up into their nose like a big straw and then pouring it back into their mouth. So there are crocodiles around. There are crocodiles that they don't really try and catch elephants. Gala, a cute little elephant indeed. I absolutely love spending time with elephants. They're always busy doing something. See, these two are jostling a little bit, pushing each other around. Once you become a big adult male elephant, you need to have all of the fighting prowess. Look at the back leg slide. This is awesome. It's not often you get to see elephants in the water, but they seem to enjoy it as much as we do. When you see children, human children in water, they can play all day. You have to eventually drag them out, otherwise they'll never leave. Elephants show so much joy when they play in the water, and sometimes makes us rather jealous on warm days. I wouldn't be swimming in water there with 5.5 meter long crocodiles. The elephants aren't too concerned with the crocs. Gremlins General, you want to know if the elephants cross, and they do indeed. Elephants will cross the water. They're actually very good swimmers, and they're not too at risk of crocodiles, so they cross whenever they want to, but it really depends on whether they need to. It's not like the herds that seem to just cross this way and that way. The elephants seem to have a little bit more of a plan when it comes to the water. And if they do cross, it's probably some migratory route they've got themselves, that maybe the matriarch will be taking them on. Let's head a bit further south, or maybe away from the herds. Here comes another female. It's coming down to join the rest of the herd. Okay, well, James is having a great afternoon with the Salt Lick Pride, and he would like to show you one of the little cubs.
We've just had the most wonderful little greeting ceremony here. The female started calling, the lioness, and the little ones came bounding up to her, jumped on her, and were very, very pleased to see their mother. The rest of the pride seems to be coming down this way, and if you do hear some vehicles, it is because, of course, this is high season in the Massai Mara, and there are a lot of people loving the wildlife that we're seeing over here. Now, you'll see how close they are to the herds. That's probably about 150 to 200 meters. And the herds will be very well aware of the lions here, because they are lit up with the sun straight in their eyes. Perhaps we're going to have a little bit of teaching. No, we're going to have a little bit of a snooze. Now, interestingly, I say teaching, but lions don't teach their cubs to hunt necessarily. There probably is a little bit of example following, but if you raise a lion, an orphaned lion, and just release it into the wild, assuming it doesn't have trouble from other territorial lions, it will be able to hunt for itself. And so much of the hunting technique is probably refined over the years and learned through experience, but the instinct and the initial kind of tools to hunt are most definitely hardwired into the lions. We've got another lioness coming across the road now. She'll go up and greet them all as well. So we'll have a huge carpet in this magical light. You might just be able to hear her calling. Look. And that's also interesting because these cubs that we've been seeing are the same age, which means they're siblings. And that could easily just be an aunt. In fact, it's most likely an aunt. She doesn't look like she's suckling. And so all the lionesses within this pride will look after the youngsters. Oh, look at that. There's tremendous affection. And it's so amazing to watch them like this. And then you see them on a kill. And they are so angry with each other. And they become so unfriendly to each other when there's a fight over food. We'll stay here and watch this wonderful carpet of lions developing. Hopefully the others will come too. Let's go down south to where David is watching some of the birds that benefit from the migration bounty.
Jumbo Jumbo, and welcome to another part of the Mara where I have decided to shift the gears from all the mammals you've been seeing, from the lions, from the elephants, and I thought I'll show you some birds for a change, isn't it? Makes a bit of sense. All those are vultures, and we're very close to the Kenya-Tanzania border, and a very different area. Well, Jumbo again, everybody. My name is David, and with me on camera is Bungay. Bungay, how are you? And welcome to the show, A Wild Wonderland. It's exciting to see different birds here, and I'm talking about the scavengers. And these particular scavengers of vultures, we call them the Rupert's griffon vultures. Rupert's griffon vultures. And they are congregating there. I was just counting them a few minutes ago, and I found there are over 100 vultures in that one area you see there. But what is interesting, there isn't any sign of a kill. Not one. I mean, I have looked, I have not seen any cuts, I have not seen any carcasses, and what they're doing in the very middle there, they're just blowing some dust, and I'm guessing there could be a ritual going on there. So what I want to do is to go around a little bit and find out whether there could be any carcass, but I highly doubt there's any carcass there. It could be a ritual of kind, some kind of roosting, and that might be interesting to watch at a close range. Otherwise, I want to find out if there could be any carcass. In the meantime, I'll take you across to Steve, to his elephants.
Well, you're back with us. It is the elephants that like staying away from the herds, the migration. There's so much noise with all of the wildebeest and all those vultures as well. And we've got this elephant swimming here, but this individual decided to photobomb the shot. We've got two right behind, busy swimming. They're right in the water, enjoying lots and lots of play. And this guy's decided, or this female, should I say, I'm just going to stand right here and eat that very dry looking grass. Here's the rest of the herd at the back. Very close-knit group. Elephants. The females will stay in the herd for life. The only time, there we go, look at the back there, right in the water. That one's splashing and the other one's right underneath. There's two of them using their trunks as a snorkel. Elephant swimming, for me, is sometimes the most marvelous thing to witness. We'll be able to see the joy and the pleasure on their faces as they roll around in the water, cool themselves down. It is a privilege to be able to spend time with these big pachyderms. Very close-knit group. Mum with all of her babies at about the age of sort of between 12 and 16. The young boys get pushed away. Linda, you say how precious. It is so precious indeed to see them doing this. That one with its foot is trying to get some mud to churn up the water. maybe throw some mud on its head, elephants don't get stuck in the mud, because when they push their foot down, their feet actually push out hugely from either side, and then when they release the pressure, it sucks back up again. Not like us, our feet get quite stuck in mud. Better than hooved animals, they get really, really stuck in mud. Elephants are very good at navigating very muddy waters, very muddy areas. On the right there, they're completely under the water. They're quite buoyant, elephants, so they swim very, very well. Okay, well, we are on the banks of the Mara River with this beautiful herd. It is the lifeblood of this ecosystem. Let's go and have a look how important it is for everything.
The Mara River is the artery that brings life to this African ecosystem. Thousands of animals live in its waters, from lazy herbivores to voracious predators. Thirsty animals must visit its treacherous banks. Travelers must brave the dangers lurking beneath the muddy surface. Hundreds of bird species forage on the shores and in the depths. For much of the year, the residents of the Mara enjoy the bounty of the river, many waiting patiently for the few months when more than 1 million animals come to feast on the grass of the plains. But the grass is green on both sides, and it is a temptation that overcomes even the deepest fears. This is feasting time for the greatest of the world's reptiles. But it's not only the crocodiles that take their toll on the herds. Panic, currents, and cascading rapids account for an astonishing number of deaths each year. The Mara River is a paradox, providing both life and death.
Nature, but there's all sorts of spectacles out here if you know where to look, and that's my favorite thing about being out on foot. A very good afternoon to you all. My name is Jamie, and behind the camera is Craig, and we've been really lucky over the past few walks. We've been walking all sorts of things, from buffalo to lions this morning, but being out here on foot in the greater Kruger is about more than just approaching the big animals. It's about looking for the little ones as well. And this particular little one is a flap-necked chameleon who has just woken up. So most of these little creatures estivate during the dry season. That's kind of like hibernation, but it is because of the dry season rather than temperature related. Now, this little flap-necked chameleon is so cold, but this is its favorite bush. It is an apple leaf tree, and you can see how effectively it uses its camouflage to pretend that it is a leaf. Now, what I'm hoping is, because we're going into evening time, I'm hoping that this chameleon's going to move out into the sun in order to bask and to warm up. Now, most animals out here at this time of evening enjoy a little bit of time spent in the sun, which of course makes everything, even elephants, seem that much more beautiful.
Thanks, Jamie. Indeed, and once again, you are watching CGTN Wild Wonderland live show, where we're witnessing and crossing at the moment our herd of elephants has waded right into the depths of the stream. You can see how deep it really is. The smallest members are completely submerged, and the rest of the herd now is slowly coming to join. Oh, there's a bit of play. It must be quite something to be an enormously heavy animal and to suddenly lose all of your weight and be very buoyant in the water. That's why I think elephants enjoy swimming so much, because they've got such an amount of weight and pressure on their body. So being in the water really takes away that pressure. Cranky pangolin, you know, elephants know how to swim. They do seem to know how to swim almost from the early days, but you'll often find if they go through some deep water that mum will be there to help guide them and to lift them up with her trunk. But they know to stick their trunk above the water. The trunk is a snorkel, it is their nose, so as long as they're able to breathe, they've got no problem. And there'll be a lot of encouragement, a lot of touching. They're very tactile animals, so they wouldn't be doing it on their own. Mum would never expect them to do this on their own. They're really close up to each other. You see everybody touching everybody, lots of comfort and lots of sort of support. Everybody knows where to go, and if mum is right there, you know, it's how we learned how to swim. Okay, well, while we watch this, let's quickly go down to James and his cubs.
We've just been watching this lioness carrying her cubs, tiny little ones. These are the new ones. She was carrying it across through the grass. Amazing to watch. I've actually very seldom seen it, where a lioness will pick up her cubs like that by the neck, and it just goes totally limp. You can't believe a little vulnerable thing can be safe in amongst the massive teeth of a lioness like that. Now what she's trying to do is get them to join her so that they can go around and join the rest of the pride, I think. Obviously they don't like to swim very much, and they're right in front of a pretty gorgeous little pond full of lilies and terrapins and lots of water birds. But what she's trying to do is encourage them to come with her. There we go, one of them's caught up with her now. I'll just go and have a look to the left. There we go, there's another little one there, just going through the grass behind her. Yes, Mina, in theory, lion cubs can be vulnerable to predatory birds. I say in theory because it's very seldom that they are out in the open without their mothers. If we go back to the ones on the right, for example, they're now slowly starting to come after her. She is calling them, and the reason that they would be vulnerable is that they're away from her. But when they're not around, or when the adults are not around, normally the youngsters are hiding. They'll be in a culvert or in the very long grass. But in theory, yes, they could fall prey to a very big eagle, like a martial eagle perhaps. Even a giant eagle owl might take a very tiny cub. And these two are being very naughty. She's trying to make them come with her, and they're just playing. Like mammal children all over the world, doesn't matter which niche you happen to find yourselves, little things cannot do what they're supposed to. They find it very difficult to do what they're told. This one is now exploring on the sand, which it finds very interesting. Alright, we'll see how this cute little scene unfolds. You go back across to David, to animals that I don't think have ever been described as cute.
Lion cubs remain playful all the time, and I moved a little bit further to investigate what was happening here. And as I guessed earlier, I've just found out that these vultures are devouring wildebeest. And not sure who killed the wildebeest, because on a closer look, most of its flesh remains, on the body. So I would think it could have died of some natural causes. Vultures do a tremendous job here in the African wilderness, and it could be a very different ballgame if we do not have this cleanup crew. They do a wonderful job. Let's have a listen to all what's happening there. I would say vultures do not have any table manners, and they push and they shove on who gets what on the table. And this particular type of vultures here, as I said, is the Rupert's griffon vulture. And in Kenya, we got 7 different vultures. These particular ones are very gregarious. You'll get them in numbers from 20, sometimes up to 200 together. So what they need to do is to spread their wings out to look big, and by so doing they intimidate the others to get close to the kill. Remember, we're coming to you live from the Massai Mara, and should you have any questions, you may ask us using hashtags CGTNWild or Wild Wonderland. Well, I'm going to move on, trying to look for something else. In the meantime, we'll take you to my friend Steve, who I think is still by the river.
Thanks, Gigi. Well, we are still at the Mara River, everybody, with this herd of elephants that is having the best time in the water. That's all the youngsters are still in, and the adults are out on the other side, being all adult-like, and the youngsters are still being very, very childish, which is so special to see. It's the first time I've seen this in the Mara. I've seen it many times in watering holes around South Africa, but first time seeing the Mara River with a herd of Mara elephants enjoying themselves. Hippos are enjoying themselves as well. They've moved down the stream slightly, a bit annoyed that the elephants have trespassed in their water. There's nothing they can do about that. Okay, well, it seems like lions are on the hunt once again with James.
Quite astoundingly, this lioness has come into a little sort of drainage gully, and she seems to be trying to hunt. At this time of the day, I'm astounded by it. Maybe she spotted a weak one. You can see all the herds there, and the cubs have been told to stay behind. They're waiting on a little termite mound behind her. Two of the other lionesses, I'm not going to ask Randra to go to them because she might run. Two of the other lionesses are now starting to adopt the same pose that she's got. They're quite far behind her, though. Now, I'm going to warn you that I think that the chances of her taking something here in this light are small, but they're not impossible. These lionesses do hunt at all times of the day during the migration. We often think of them as being nocturnal, and sometimes they just like to have a little rest in the middle of a hunt, which is what's going on now. We can show you where the others are. There they are. As you can see, the cubs, they almost give an imperceptible little grunt or look that makes the cubs stop, because they were following her right up until then, and she turned, she looked at them, and they stopped moving, and then she carried on. Now, wildebeest have got very good eyes. They're very quick. They can see, they can hear very well, they can smell very well. I don't think the lions smell very strong to them, but sight here is their help, their major advantage. Also, the numbers that they have. They have a huge number of eyes looking around for things that might want to eat them, and these lions are just such things. And you can see them just drifting slowly away. At this distance, they wouldn't run. At this distance, probably about 150 meters or so, they're not going to run away from the lions. They'll stand and face them and alarm call. Alrighty, we haven't seen a male lion today, and down in the Kruger, of course, male lions are very famous for their black manes and their size.
Yes, our wonderful male lions have graced us with their presence, but you saw them this morning, didn't you? And they are in exactly the same place, because that's what lions love to do. They love to laze around in the middle of the day and just chill out, because the heat of the day can become a little bit intense. My name is Trishala with Sebastian on camera this afternoon, and we're glad to have you on board. And we're here in the Sabi Sand, or the Kruger area of South Africa. So a bit different from up there in East Africa, and we too have our male coalition here. Now, these are the evokers, and they actually are looking a bit skinny. When this particular male on the right turned over on his back, even this guy, you can see that they were actually looking quite thin, and they could be much fuller. Unfortunately for them, this morning they were a bit lazy,
and they didn't act on the buffalo that were walking by, but maybe that's because they have another plan. That is, one to just lie around for the rest of the day, which would not be unlike most other days for a male lion. But they are lovely, they are some of my favorites, and this particularly guy is the one we call the blonde male lion, and I think he's my favorite. Anyway, we're going to maybe meet up with a lovely leopard in a bit, so let me send you over to Tristan, because he's got a slightly younger male lion.
We do indeed. He's wading his way through the grass and is now hopefully going to climb the rock for us. It's interesting to watch them as they try and scale these massive boulders. What are you doing, youngster? He's kind of wedging his bottom in so as he doesn't fall, but he'll scale all the way up to join his mom. There seems to be about 5 of them on top there, and 4 of them seem to be quite young, and he's by far the most curious of them all. And you can see he's busy kind of moving up the rock and is not getting much traction. There we go. Up you get, boy. Isn't that amazing? How cool is it to see lions playing in the rocks? It's one of the things that I always look out for on a safari, and to see it live is very, very special. There you go. You can see Mom has also stirred since we last saw her. How amazing is that? Right, well, my name is Tristan on camera. I've got David, and it is as good a welcome as you can get to the Serengeti in Tanzania. And you can see that these lions have been, well, sleepy for the most part of the afternoon, and all of a sudden have woken up. And it's, like I say, 4 siblings by the looks of things, and they've been quite playful. They're going up and down the rocks, and they've been watching lizards and all kinds of other things. Mom has been fairly sleepy, but with her son coming down and using toilet time, it seems to have woken her up. And you can see that big yawn. That's an indication that potentially she's going to wake up now and maybe start to go on the move as that sun has started to set. Now, talking about lions on the move, it sounds like James's lion is still marching, so let's send you back across to him.
They are still on the move. They are moving closer to the herds. I really don't know what their strategy is here. I'm guessing that the strategy is probably to try and single out an injured individual. Now, yesterday in amongst the herds, we found a young calf that had broken its knee, probably during a crossing, and that must have been unbelievably painful. It was making a horrible wailing sound. But that's the kind of animal that they're looking for in amongst herds like this, because they won't be able to run away even in this light. My name is James Henry. Gendre is on camera, and you are watching CGTN's Wild Wonderland live show, and we're sitting in amongst the herds of the great wildebeest migration, and we've got the Salt Lick Pride hunting them, looking for weakness, poking around, probing to see if perhaps there's an arthritic old one at the back, or a little one that's not quite aware of lions, or perhaps a tired one after too many years of migrating between the Massai Mara and the Serengeti. Hyenas are specialists at this kind of strategy. They will get in amongst a herd like this and just run until they single out one that's too tired. Minamu, because it's difficult. Remember, as well evolved to hunt as lions are, remember that it's a constant evolutionary arms race. So as good at hunting as they are, so the wildebeest are as good at avoiding being hunted. And so it's a very difficult thing to do. And I would urge you to try and stalk. I don't know where you live, Minamu, but go into a park somewhere and try and stalk a deer or something like that. Just try and get as close as you can to it. And you will notice that it is impossible. You can't believe how wily they are, how sharp they are, how they pick up on the slightest movement or the slightest sound or the slightest change in the wind direction. And so although it looks like this must be easy hunting, in this sort of light it really isn't. It's much easier than when the migration isn't here. So when they're hunting buffalo or warthogs or things like that, it's definitely easier than that. And that's why they're trying at this time of the day. But it's not easy at all. And if you've ever had to stalk an animal to get close to it, just to see how close you can get, you'll be astonished at how brilliant they are at trying to discern whether there's a predator or not. Right, now David Gathamba Gethu is just south of us, over those hills over there. and he would like to tell you a bit more about his herds.
Well, the lions have a lot of success, and I would say for me, some of the most successful mammals that we got here are the wildebeest they're seeing, just making that single file on the walk. Let's just listen to them for a couple of seconds. Ideally, they tend to move, in the night or early morning or late afternoon like now, and in the middle of the day when it's rather hot, they tend to rest. And what happens is, for those of you who could be joining us now, I got a lot of flies all coming on my face and my ears. My name is David, and on camera is Bungay. So what would happen like now, they would move towards one particular direction depending on the head of this particular herd. Their strength is in their numbers, and they have been designed to stay on the move. So funny enough, because the direction they're heading now is towards the south, and that's towards Serengeti National Park in Tanzania, where Tristan is. And I'll not be surprised if they move like another 5-10 kilometers and then just turn around and back in the Massai Mara. They always go like in circles, and then at the end of the day, the general movement is always clockwise. Massive numbers where we are, getting an average of about 5,000. And this is the time, like the lions are with James, enjoy every presence of these wildebeests.
They certainly do love this time of the year. I think it's impossible to estimate how many wildebeest there are. People often ask me, how many can you see? And I find it completely impossible to say. This is the mother of the little ones, and you can see she's heavily lactating there, and her little ones are just to the left of her, and they're watching the action unfolding in front of them, much as we are. The other lions are still moving slowly towards the herds, but the herds at the same time are moving away from them. So I don't think a hunt is imminent just yet, and so we'll enjoy the playfulness of what I believe to be nature's cutest animal. Now, if you listen very carefully, I think she's probably still a little bit far away, but she keeps calling them. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And she's trying to make them follow her because I think she doesn't want to miss out on a potential meal. And the two naughty ones continue to refuse to follow instructions. Hello, Frankie the pangolin. Frankie the pangolin, yes, I think there are predators that get killed during the migration. I suspect quite strongly it's mostly probably little cubs like this. Oh, sorry, Cranky Franklin, not Cranky Pangolin. It's a wonderful name. Let me move quickly. Yes, predators will get killed in the migration. I don't think by the herds, though. I think very few will be trampled or injured by the migrating herds. I think it's much more likely that they'll be injured by conflict with other predators. Remember I told you last night, perhaps, that the territories that lions have become completely disassociated. They overlap completely, and that brings the lions into a lot of conflict, and that, of course, can result in death from time to time. Right, we're going to go even further south now, while these little cubs decide to play with their mother, to Tristan and a rock-climbing cat.
Well, no, it's not a cat, James. There are rock-climbing cats close by, but there is a very unique antelope species that occurs here that you don't see much in the Mara or in Djuma, and that is a klipspringer. And you can see they climb the rocks all over the place and bounce around, and they have to be very wary of things like lions, because lions will go after them. Not so much actually a pride like this. This would be too small a meal for this many lions, but in terms of leopards would go after them quite often. Now our lions, as you can see, are still doing the exact same as what they were doing a little bit earlier. The female has just lifted her front paw and is having a bit of a nap and is taking it very easy. And that klipspringer actually has been very kind of alert, and I'm sure it's noticed these lions through the course of the day. Lions are quite inconspicuous when they sneeze and roll around and get up, and they make a lot of noise, and the klipspringer would have been very in tune with what's going on. But there we go, she's woken up a little bit, and nice to have a bit of that dappled light just coming through the trees and on to her face. It's actually quite amazing sitting in amongst these rocks. There's an incredible feel that you get when you're in here, and it's like a completely different ecosystem. There's so many little things that move around in here, from the lions being on there. There's leopards that are often around. You find the klipspringers, you'll find agamas, and on all kinds of different birds as well that use these places as home. And it's an incredible spot just to sit for a period of time and listen and absorb, and it's actually really good for just kind of centering yourself a little bit. It really, really is nice. Now, while we watch our cats and hope that they start to wake up and start to move around, well, it doesn't look like it with this particular lady, let's send you back down south to South Africa as Trishala is being given the runaround.
Yes, I certainly am. I'm just trying to get round this branch so we can see our lovely cat. There we go. Oh no, boy, are you going to walk to the side? Well, we can wait for him. There we go. Maybe we'll get a nice shot of him here. Hello, Hasana. You beautiful boy. Now, the reason I was able to go from the lions to Hasana this quickly was because they are very, very close. In fact, they are in the same vicinity, not even 100 meters apart. Now, this is potentially dangerous for Hasana, and I really do hope that he will have a good sense about him. There was also an elephant that walked through, and the elephant walked through the lions and Hasana, and I can only imagine the type of stress it must have felt to be able to actually smell predators on either side. But also, Hasana has survived the lions before, and he may very well again too. And he certainly is a very playful cat. He's special to us all, and we've learned about him, and he's grown up with us for quite a while, and he's especially very, very playful.
The little chief Hosana is filling out and supposedly maturing. His dewlap, the flap of skin under his chin, is a sure sign of adulthood. Yet it would seem he is not ready to adopt the dignity and refinement of his father, the Duke. Hosana continues to entertain with the clownish tomfoolery of his youth. His road to maturity is paved with self-made adventure. Tingana, his father, may not tolerate his presence for long. And so, every second with this supreme entertainer is savoured.
Hello everybody, and you are again watching the CGTN Wild Wonderland live show. My name is Steve Falconbridge, joined by James on camera, and may I introduce you to the North Clan. We have got a beautiful den site here of the North Clan, and there are lots of little cubs around, very inquisitive little things. There's only one adult here to the right who's busy suckling or nursing two of her little babies. Hyenas, for the most part, have only two, and these little youngsters are going to come and investigate the car. There we go, those two are enjoying a very, very nutrient-rich milk. Hyenas are the longest nursing mammals for their size, and they can nurse from anywhere from 8 months to a year and a half. They do not bring food back to the den for the babies. So, Maureen, you want to know how we don't run over the cubs? Well, they are going to come underneath the car. They're going to sniff our tires and sniff all sorts of things. But if I do move, I will start the engine and they'll all run away and go and hide back by the hole. I won't just go driving. So they are quite camouflaged with their spots, but so far, so good. But these youngsters are very inquisitive, and they will stay at the den for the first close to 8 months, up to a year, where mum will provide them with, like I said, very nutrient-rich milk, not bringing back any food to the den unless the matriarch is the one, because whoever brings back food is likely to have it stolen from any member that is higher ranking than her. Well, we're going to stay here and maybe try and extricate these animals from underneath our car while we watch this cuteness unfold. Let's go back down to the Serengeti with Tristan.
We've got these delightful little things now, and they're lying in front of a puddle of water, and they're having a good suckle, and their mother is being very patient. I'll just give you an update. The others are still moving towards the herds, but the herds are moving way away from them. This is James, of course, it's not Tristan, so don't worry about it. You see, the lioness was shocked that anyone thought I was Tristan. Absolutely gobsmacked that anyone could have made that mistake. It's okay, my dear, it's still me. Don't worry. There you are, she's calmed down now. And all three of them desperately hungry, as all little things like this are. Their mothers must be so very patient. Looks to me like there are 2 or 3 lionesses, actually. I don't think there are males. Which is quite interesting, and you can only tell that by looking under their tails. Beautiful. Isn't that wonderful? They look pretty fat. I think they've eaten very nicely. Indeed. And now the sun's coming out onto their beautiful faces. And all of you really enjoying the sight of these lovely cats in the glorious golden last afternoon light. Alrighty, let's go across to David. He is a predator expert, but he is also very much a bird expert.
Well, I've been doing lots of birds today. I did the vultures, but now I've come to another bird of prey. And what I want to do first is to ask you a question. Which bird do you think this is? Which bird do you think this is? And I'm sure I'm going to help you by giving you a few clues and hints up there. But should you know which bird this is, let me know. Hashtag CGTNWild or hashtag Wild Wonderland. First clue, it is an eagle. Does that help? Second clue is the largest, or one of the largest eagles that we got in Africa. It's going to be the largest, but it's one of the largest eagles that we got in Africa. So I already gave you a clue. It's an eagle. It's one of the largest eagles that we got in Africa. And should you know an answer, and there's no harm, give me a guess of who you think she is. Hashtag CGTNWild or hashtag Wild Wonderland. Sinak, excellent, very well done. I'll give you a 10 out of 10, or would you like 100 out of 100? Yes, correct, that is a martial eagle. Very well done, and that's a martial eagle resting on a thorn tree. Excellent, Sinak. You get a high five from Wild Wonderland Show, all the way from the Massai Mara, and you're coming to you live. Look at her yellow eye and her hooked beak, because that's what they use to tear meat. It's a very important tool for these eagles because they're like surgeons. Without that hooked beak, it could be very difficult for them to tear anything apart. The females, not sure whether this is a male or female, of this particular eagle are slightly bit larger than the males. That's how we tell the difference, and a lot heavier, I would also say. And what they do, they always fly and catch very heavy prey, including gazelles, like the Thompson gazelles, or even impalas. Well, my show eagle, very good to see you, and return to send you to Steve, who got some hyenas.
Indeed, there is so much to enjoy at a den full of hyena cubs. That little one there is less than sort of on the 3-month mark. You can see how the spots are starting to come out from the dark coat. But they are very inquisitive, and they spend their first almost year at the den where they are quite safe. If anything stresses them, if there's any panic, they all run quickly underground there. Mum will dig the hole, and then youngsters can actually dig further into the ground, and it keeps them safe. Much safer, in fact, than lions, and they generally have a better success rate than lions do with these den sites. But of course, with holes in the ground, they are subject to flooding and also to infestations of parasites such as ticks and fleas and lice. And so every now and again, the adults will move the den site accordingly. But it's an area of social activity, a hub of activity. Hey, Sarah, you want to know if the hyena cubs get sick from chewing on cars? I'm not sure. They will chew on pretty much anything. They do look like dogs, although they are more closely related to cats. But they love chewing. You'll see that one there has found itself a stick, and the other one wants to steal the stick from it. They are born with teeth erupted, which is quite unique in the mammal kingdom, and their teeth are constantly growing, and they've got some of the most powerful teeth in the mammal kingdom. Now, we have spent an enormous amount of time with the North Clan, and in fact, there's research from Michigan State has been following hyenas in the Mara for 30 years, and well, we have got a lot of information about this exact den.
The North Clan are a formidable gang of predators roaming the Mara Triangle. Their new matriarch is Soup. She recently overthrew her aging grandmother, Waffles, a low-ranking hyena who fought her way to the pinnacle of the hierarchy. The clan numbers more than 70, and they are efficient hunters of the weak and sick. But they don't always have it their own way. The clan has also mastered the art of scavenging. And when this warrior band comes a-thieving, almost nothing can stop them.
That North Clan is really quite something. The society of hyenas and the way that they operate is amazing, and to have watched the North Clan as it's developed has been quite spectacular. Now, I was saying the rocks have their own little ecosystem, and there you can see a little head poking out the top of a rock, and that is for one of the agama species that lives on these rocks. They bounce around all over the place, and you can see how well camouflaged it is when it sits on top there. And from there, they'll come down and they'll forage for food in the grass nearby, but for most part, up on the rocks, sun themselves, warm themselves nicely, and then they can be quite active. And at night, then they go into the little crevices in the rock. You can also see we have 2 more klipspringe. In fact, there were 3 here. I don't know where the third one has bounced off to, but there's 2 of them looking very stoic up on their rocks. It's probably a pair with its youngster. You often find klipspringers in pairs. They have a monogamous bond, and you'll find that they sit on top of these rocks like this in order to be able to watch out for predators. And they have a little bit of an adaptation to be able to do this. You can imagine most antelope species have a hard hoof that is not going to be ideal on rocks. It's going to be very slippery and very difficult for them to get balance. So their hooves are slightly different. They are more rounded, and they have a more rubbery kind of feel to them, which allows them to sit very well on these rocks, and they can then climb over it. Good, we're going to keep scouting about the rocks, see what else we can find. In the meantime, though, let's send you back across to James and the Salt Lake Pride.
Look at these lions and the chaos going on behind them. This is not a serious hunt. It's going to turn into a serious hunt as the day ends, though. Isn't that a beautiful scene? They just can't believe the entertainment going on there. Look at the wildebeest chasing each other. The reason it looks a bit hazy is because it is quite hazy. There's a massive fire down south in Tanzania, and that smoke is kind of making the air a little bit hazy. It's totally normal for there to be fires in this sort of area. Also, you must appreciate that because of where we're sitting, it's a lot closer, or the lions look a lot closer to the wildebeest than they actually are. They're still a good 150 to 200 meters away, and the more they press home towards the wildebeest, the more the wildebeest move away, and the more the lions hope that we will, or that they will be able to single out a weak one. And Mum is still here with her little ones. She's just over here. She's calling them. You can hear her. Oh, too cute. I think those are the two naughty ones. People often ask why it is that these animals have tails, and I don't think there's often an obvious answer. Certainly in a lion's case, a lion survives just fine without a tail, and I wonder if it isn't just so that they can play with them. Purely an entertainment toy that evolution has given them. Look at this. There's so much loose skin on their bodies that they don't hurt each other, despite their needle little teeth. And very interestingly, unlike the hyenas you were watching with Steve, their cubs often fight like this, but what happens is that the playing has a very serious ramification. It establishes the hierarchy, but there's no hierarchy here amongst these little things. They're all equals. Minamu, you're wondering about genetics and the color of lions and the colors of their manes, and wondering if the genetics makes a difference. Yeah, it makes all the difference in the world. In the same way that you have blonde or dark hair or red hair, so it is, or straight hair or curly hair, so it is defined by your genes. And there are a number of genes that do it, it's not just one. And so the color of a lion is very much defined by their genes. In the case of a big male lion, we do know that within a locality, within a population, often black-maned lions have got higher testosterone levels, but of course that too is caused by genetics mostly. There's a little male. That one on the left is a male, so he will have a mane eventually. So although the black mane on a male can be defined by testosterone, the testosterone level of course is not defined but predicated on the genetics of the particular animal. So she's got at least one son, at least one daughter. I think there are 2 girls here now and 1 boy. I might be wrong. Let's look at this one. This is the best time of the day to be with little lions because they are just so very playful. That's our little male. And he, interestingly, is slightly darker than his siblings. Now that also, Minamu, would definitely be defined by their genetics. And look how spotty they are. You see how spotty they are as youngsters. Often people don't realize that lions are so spotty when they're little, but that's because they hide in the shadows while they're little. They don't course through this sea of grass like the adults do. They need to hide in the shadows, and that's why that is why they are so spotty and so naughty. I think that's the little girl there. What an amazing evening it is turning out to be with these little lions fighting here. The rest of the pride is still down there having a little bit of a hunt, but nothing serious. They're now resting on termite mounds, waiting to see if perhaps they're going to get very lucky. And we're just going to spend the last minute looking at these beautiful little cubs and their mother. Machine Gun Nest, what a name that is. You say that it is Cub Wars. Yes, it is Cub Wars, but of course, like most kids playing on a playground, it's just a game. And with these lions, it very much is a game. There isn't a hierarchical point to it. All right, everyone, that's going to be it from us. We will see you, of course, tomorrow morning. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for your questions and comments. It's been absolutely magnificent bringing you Africa from 3 live locations on CGTN's Wild Wonderland live show. So until tomorrow, I hope you've enjoyed yourselves, and I hope that we will see you all aboard the world's largest safari. Bye-bye.